Hello viewers and welcome back to Sahara TV. On this segment with me today is Colonel Babatunde Soluade. He's a former colonel in the Nigerian military and author of the book Truth and Consequences, a biography of his time in the country and as a member of the Nigerian military. Currently, however, he lives in Canada and is a writer and researcher on issues such as financial freedom, health freedom, youth development, and other matters, providing alternatives to some of the mainstream ways that people can better their lives and better the lives of those around them. Thank you, Colonel Soluade, for being with us here today on Sahara TV.
Right.
Yes, sir. So to start out, in your book, you mentioned, of course, statements and just a profile of you within the country growing up, and then also your time in the Nigerian military. And I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on, based on your time at that time. Nigeria just turned 100, and I wanted to know what you thought, how the country had come since your time there in the military. If we could have your thoughts on that, please.
Thank you very much indeed. Nigeria just turned 100 years of age as a nation when the north and southern parts of Nigeria were amalgamated in 1914. But 100 years is just a number. It is what happens within that span of time and what attitude has changed to make things get better that determines whether there's advancement or stagnation. To me, about 50 years ago, there was a civil war which emanated from a very distrustful relationship between major tribes and ended up with a military coup, which was, in quote, Igbo dominated. And so the northern soldiers overthrew the government of General Ironsi. So that activity in itself has a tribal content. Mm-hmm. Or tribal coloration. And when we say, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand, it shouldn't be only in theory, it should be in practice. What we have today is more or less a degeneration of even what gave rise to that civil war at that time at a very high level, because it's right now a matter of open sesame. You go and align with yourself, with people from your own tribal source of origin. And it's like tribalism is played more prominently now in the political landscape of Nigeria more than ever before, even though pretensively they color it with all kinds of decorations, celebrations, and government appointments where you find. But really and truly, when you go deeper beyond the surface, the tribal element, the lack of trust is still there. So 100 years, to me, is like 100 years of not really advancing much. Mm-hmm. Things can get much better. If we look at the country today, we find that we have different armies covertly or overtly declaring that they're a nation unto their own. You have the Arewa, and which gave rise to Boko Haram. Mm-hmm. You have the Oduduwa, of the Yorubas who wanted to form Oduduwa Republic. You have the Igbos who want Biafran Republic. You have the riverine areas, the oil-rich areas, where you have the Niger Delta. Every one of them is complaining about injustice or marginalization. What that tells you is that there's no trust. The oneness is not there. There's been an abuse or experience of, perpetration of injustice. When you get to power, you really secure your own people more than you secure the rest of the people. So coming of age at 100, to me, has not really advanced Nigeria the way it should.
Thank you for that. Now, recently the president was talking about having, which is coming up soon actually, the start of it, this national conference on trying to bridge some of these and fix these gaps in tribal and religious fractions that have racked the country, like you mentioned, since at least 50 years or more. Now, what is your take on this, and do you think the way that it's purportedly going to be carried out will be the answer that Nigeria needs?
Well, national conference to me is not a very judicious approach because it will not work. Why? The way it is being processed for it to happen is flawed. For instance, you go and choose leaders who are not probably popular amongst their own people. You choose leaders and demarcate the areas that should discuss and not discuss. You choose leaders who have no credibility. But at the end of it all, the conference really doesn't make any difference because it's just a matter of wish. What is more important is what is the process by which Nigeria operates. There is a system that government should use by way of law, process, procedure, protocol. All these processes have been abused and, put out of the way. So there is lawlessness around lawlessness in the civil service, in politics, in the military, in customs. When you talk of appointments of people, you talk of quota system, which means that when you go there, your own quota is to take the quota of your own, your inheritance. Mm-hmm. So you find that there's abuse. When you get there as a head of an institution, what you do is to enrich yourself and your own people more than you enrich anybody. But it's not a matter of enrichment. When you go to get a public appointment, you are a servant, and you must be accountable. Now, how many people in Nigeria have made progress or been recognized as successful people who are accountable, who can tell you how they got where, how much they got into their pockets today? People who are so rich, and they say they lifted oil, they did this and that, but really and truly, the whole system is aberrant. Total aberration, abuse of law. There is no law that is being followed. There's no accountability. People don't know. Anybody that's very successful in Nigeria today cannot truly, what he tells you he has done is different from what the records will have, if there are records at all. And it's all got to do with settling each other covertly behind like what you call hidden agenda. Mm-hmm. People just go and do some kind of manipulation and get successful and get rich. And then those who really want to work by a process of hard work, imagination, creativity, don't have a way. Mm-hmm. And that's why you find people who want to become chiefs, doctor, and all that by a way of award. They didn't go to school to get a doctorate. They didn't go to the community to help the community, but they got to become chief by a very aberrant process. So there's total flagrant abuse of process and law. Mm-hmm. If that is not addressed and you have conferences upon conferences, it will not add up. It will not move the country further in a positive direction, and it will amount to an exercise in futility.
So now just to turn to one other issue I'd like to discuss, the fight against Boko Haram that has been going on for a number of years now. So recently the government and actually the military spokesman himself had said that Boko Haram was on the run, that they're only operating in the fringes. Recently even President Jonathan stated that they have been successful to keep them out of major cities such as Abuja, and that the problem stands with just them raiding across borders to hit some of the villages in the northeast of the country, but that, and the military spokesman reiterated that Boko Haram is on the way out, in fact stating that perhaps even by April or so, by the end of April, that they would win, that the government would win the fight against Boko Haram. Now, even just this week, we saw two high-profile attacks, and last week as well, by Boko Haram on specifically the one on a school, on the college in Yobe. And do you think this issue is like the military is not properly equipped, or do you think it's more just the overall strategy? What are your take on this continuing menace of Boko Haram and the threat that they still pose?
Well, I consider that statement that Boko Haram is going to put on flight and be vanquished. I don't want to contest that. I hope it happens and it is a permanent settlement. But my perspective of this Boko Haram eruption is so different. Two things here. The issue of Nigeria is about power play. And what power play means, the people that grab power at the center control money or source of wealth of the country and become untouchable the way they handle that wealth because there's no accountability. So in this power play equation, the North believes that rulership of Nigeria is a birthright. And that is aggravated by the fact that they are using Islam as a cohesive element of unification. And that power play is an expression of what Boko Haram is doing today, more physically, more aggressively. The program of domination, the program of rulership. Now, if you win a war, you could win it by way of, defeating the enemy militarily, but do you defeat their minds? Mm-hmm. Their hearts and minds must be won over. So what I am trying to say also is that getting Boko Haram on the run does not stop the problem. The problem of Nigeria is that power must be in the hands of people who believe it's their birthright. And Boko Haram in principle is supported by virtually every other northern Muslim that birthright of rulership is for the North. And that, by extension, is what Boko Haram is carrying further. And that's why a person like Buhari, who people believe is a nationalist, is a clean man, and so on, as far as I'm concerned, Buhari's mindset is about northern Nigeria. And it's his statement some years ago that pointed to the fact that if he didn't win the election, there will be no peace. Mm-hmm. So there are other elements that go with this Boko Haram expression and belligerence, that when you get Boko Haram, other problems will surface again. Because Nigeria is not accountable. There are so many eruptions, so many manipulations, so many machinations that are happening by people collaborating in secret with sinister intentions to grab power, either through politics, through money, through any other means. So Boko Haram is just one arm of the problem of this power play. So if they are vanquished militarily, it does not stop the problem. So the issue is that the truth should be addressed. Mm-hmm. The truth in Nigeria is about making everybody accountable. Let's forget about what happened in the past, what mistakes, destruction happened in the past, but from now there must be a law, a process. The laws are there, they're in paper, they are there. Police must do its job. Aberration cannot be allowed. You cannot be an appointed person today, and in 3 months' time, you start having houses all over the world. And they applaud you. The culture of poverty is so deep in Nigeria now that you applaud people who cannot be accountable. Mm. So Boko Haram and all those things you are saying, why is violence increasing? Why is kidnapping increasing? Why is crime increasing? Why is dishonesty increasing? Culture of poverty. And that poverty is not because the country is poor, but because there is no access to truth. For people to do what they want to do and know how to get to where they want to get to by following the process that's accountable, by the law giving recognition to who has merit. Even if there's quota, you give that quota and don't go beyond the quota, and whoever has the authority to do anything cannot bend the rules to fit his own moment. Mm-hmm. So really and truly, there's a lot of dramatization and coloration of, what you call an attempt to mend defense, an attempt to make things better. But you see that every other time, things get worse.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We'll have to leave the discussion here, but thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on these issues, and we hope perhaps to be able to speak with you in the future.
Yes, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
Viewers, that was Colonel Babatunde Soluade, a former colonel in the Nigerian military, as well as author of Truth and Consequences. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in to this particular segment. Stay tuned. We have a lot more coming up today. Also, please, if you'd like to follow along the discussions on Facebook, Sahara Reporters, and Sahara TV, also on Twitter at Sahara Reporters and Sahara TV 1. You can watch the show via our live stream channel at Sahara TV, and actually you can follow our channel on live stream itself, and you'll be able to watch the show every weekend, this weekend included, and every weekend going forward via our live stream channel. So thank you so much, viewers, and stay tuned. We have a lot more coming up today on our show.